Imagine being blind, and when your eyesight finally comes back, the first thing you see is your wife in bed with your son. That is what happened to Neil Winters on The Young and the Restless. Hilary and Devon thought that Neil was still blind, and Neil let them keep on thinking it. He watched them lie. He watched them cover up stories. And he waited until the whole family was trapped on a private plane together before revealing that he could see everything. Drama! Before Neil Winters ever lost his eyesight, the entire Winters family was already divided over Hilary Curtis. Hilary Curtis first came to Genoa City in 2013, and she had revenge on her mind. She blamed Neil for her mother Rose's death. So Hilary targeted the entire Winters family. She went after Neil. She went after Kane. She stirred up a whole lot of trouble for Lily. And when the truth came out that she did all that, Neil forgave her. That's who Neil was. Neil could always see the good in somebody who was trying to change. And by 2014, that led Neil and Hilary to fall in love. Problem was, Devon Hamilton was falling in love with her too. Devon was Neil's adopted son. Neil had raised him, loved him, supported him, treated him as his own, and Devon considered Neil his father in every way, which made his growing feelings for Hilary a complete disaster. And Hilary felt it too. She and Devon tried to fight the attraction. They tried to stay away from each other. They even reached the point where they were ready to tell Neil the truth. But before they could, Neil lost the one thing that might have helped him see it coming. In August of 2014, Neil secretly bought a lake house. It was a fixer-upper. It needed a lot of work. But Neil imagined fixing it up and surprising Hilary with a beautiful new home. Kane went to inspect the property, and Kane quickly realized that the electrical system was dangerous. Kane warned Neil to call a professional. The warning could not have been any clearer. But after Kane left, the lights failed again. Neil went to the electrical box, tried to repair it himself, and he was struck by a massive electrical shock. He survived, but when he woke up, he could not see. The doctors diagnosed Neil with a cortical visual impairment. His eyes still worked, but the electrical shock had affected the part of his brain that processed sight. and no one could promise him that his vision would ever return. Neil was furious, and he was terrified, and he was deeply resenting anyone treating him as helpless. Lily rearranged the furniture to try to protect him. Neil hated it. His brother Malcolm Winters returned to Genoa City and pushed Neil to finally admit what was underneath all of his anger. Neil was afraid that he would be blind forever. And right as Neil was trying to understand what his life would become, Hilary and Devon made a choice that would destroy it. Neil knew that Hilary was younger than him. He knew that she had her whole life ahead of her, so he offered her a way out, a divorce. He gave her permission to leave, but she refused. Hilary said that she was committed to staying with her husband, but guilt is what was holding her there, because Hilary was already in love with Devon, and in September of 2014, Hilary and Devon finally slept together. Oops. The Devon and Hilary affair began while Neil was learning to navigate his home and his life without sight, and Y&R used that blindness to create scene after scene of unbearable tension. Neil would enter a room just moments after Devon had been with Hilary, and Devon would hide, and Hilary would lie. Neil would hear something and ask a question and then just trust the answer. During a business trip to New York, Devon surprised Hilary in her hotel room. Then Neil and Kane showed up unexpectedly. Kane could see exactly what was happening, but Neil could not. So Kane helped Devon escape. But Devon left his phone behind. And Neil recognized Devon's ringtone. Hilary lied about the phone, and Kane allowed Neil to believe her. But Kane was about to learn that secrets inside the Winters family never stay secrets for long, because Colin Atkinson, Kane's father, had also discovered Devon and Hilary's affair, and Colin had a price for his silence. Colin caught Devon and Hilary sneaking around together, and instead of exposing them, he saw a business opportunity. Colin blackmailed Devon for $2 million, which seems like a steal to cover up adultery with your dad's wife. Devon paid Colin through a fake business arrangement, and Kane knew about it. He repeatedly warned Devon and Hilary to end the affair, but he also protected them at the same time. He would help Devon escape. He would cover up what he saw, and every lie about it just pulled Kane deeper into the whole mess. By then, Neil and Lily had become curious about Devon's love life, so Hilary recruited Gwen Randall, someone who would pretend that she was Devon's girlfriend. Gwen worked at Ashby. She agreed to play along, and suddenly Devon had this public romance to distract everyone from his secret one. Except Devon and Gwen barely knew each other. Neil and Lily could sense that something was strange, and the lies just kept getting bigger. Neil told Hilary that he wanted another child. He actually asked her to stop taking her birth control. Hilary pretended to throw away the pills, but she secretly kept taking them because the only man whose child Hilary really wanted was Devon's. By this point, Neil was surrounded by family members who knew pieces of the truth. Kane knew, Colin knew, Gwen knew, and Neil was about to see exactly how many people had helped make him the last to know. Neil's vision began returning slowly. First came the shadows, then came the light, then came the shapes. Well, Devon and Hilary were thrilled. They decided that once Neil had recovered, they could finally tell him that they were in love. But then Neil received some discouraging news from his doctor. His progress had started to stall, and Devon and Hilary believed they still had time. They went to comfort Neil, but then they ended up in bed together, and Neil's vision just so happened to return at exactly that moment, just clearly enough for him to see them. His wife and his son together. The first clear image that Neil received after months of living in darkness was the betrayal of his entire family, that they had been hiding this from him. And Neil said nothing. He continued pretending to be blind. He listened to Hilary lie to him. He watched Devon move through the room secretly. For the first time, Neil could study what everybody did when they believed he couldn't see them. That choice turned Neil's recovery into something darker, because Neil was no longer waiting to regain his sight. He was waiting for the perfect place to expose them. And he chose a Valentine's Day trip. thousands of feet above the ground. In February 2015, the Winters family boarded a private plane, headed to Chicago. Neil, Hilary, Devon, Lily, Kane, Colin, they were all there. All the secrets, all the liars, all the people who knew more than Neil was supposed to know. Neil stood up. He poured himself an alcoholic beverage, and he read the label aloud. Everyone froze. And Neil announced that he could see everything. And the first thing that he had seen was Devon in bed with Hilary. Neil exposed the affair. He exposed Kane's role in covering it up. He exposed Colin's $2 million blackmail. Lily smacked Devon, then she turned on Kane, and the entire Winters family exploded inside this private jet. Neil had spent months depending on these people. Now he knew how many of them had looked him in his face and lied. And just when it seemed that the confrontation could not become any more dramatic, the plane crashed. The plane went down in the snow. Hilary became trapped under the wreckage. And after everything that Neil had just learned about her, he's the one who performed CPR and saved her life. That is very Neil. You know, he was furious and heartbroken and humiliated and still unable to stand there and let Hilary die. Neil eventually found help and brought rescuers to the crash site, but when Devon thanked him for saving everyone, Neil made it clear that Lily was the reason. Everyone may have survived the Winters family plane crash, but their relationships did not. Neil Winters relapsed. His recovery from alcoholism completely collapsed under the weight of Devon and Hilary's betrayal. And then his downward spiral pulled him into Nikki Newman's story at the time. Neil and Nikki started drinking together. Nikki tried to trick Neil into attending an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, but when Neil realized where she was taking him, he grabbed the steering wheel in the moving car, and the car struck a pregnant Christine Williams. Christine lost her baby, and Nikki initially protected Neil. She claimed responsibility for the crash. So it's crazy how Neil's blindness storyline spread far beyond the secret affair of Hilary and Devon. It damaged Devon. It destroyed Neil and Hilary's marriage. It shook Lily and Kane's marriage, it fueled Neil's relapse, and then it ended with another family grieving a child. That's a lot. Neil regained his eyesight, but the world he opened his eyes to would never look the same again. This story started with Neil losing his sight, and somehow it ended with a secret affair, a fake romance, a $2 million blackmail plot, a private plane crash in the snow, and Neil performing CPR on the wife who just betrayed him. I love soaps. Christoph St. John played every layer of Neil's pain. The fear, the humiliation, the tenderness that he still felt for Hilary, and the devastation of learning that his son, Devon, the son he trusted, the son he raised, had betrayed him. But at the same time, Brighton James and Michelle Morgan were so electric together. Devon and Hilary were complicated, and they were wrong, but they were also hot. That is what made this triangle so good, because Neil's heartbreak felt real, and Hilary and Devon's chemistry felt real, and the audience was pulled in both directions. So now I want to hear from you, Y&R fans. Do you remember Neil Winters losing his sight and discovering Devon and Hilary's affair? I also am curious to know who you think betrayed Neil more deeply. Hilary as his wife, or Devon as his son? And what part of this wild storyline do you remember the most? It's such a good one. Ooh, leave me your thoughts in the comments.